What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Nosey Neighbors, the channel for beginners, casual users, and fragrance enthusiasts. My name is Jay. Today's episode is going to be an introduction to myself, a little bit of background about me, and how I got into the world of fragrances. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so a little bit of background about me. Really the first time I got introduced to fragrances was, I feel like everybody else, in middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Obviously, if you can guess, the fragrance that I was using in middle school, it was, drum roll please, Axe body spray. That's right. Phoenix, to be specific. I loved it. Drowned my clothes and my body in that as much as humanly possible, and probably drowned out a lot of other people's noses as well. But that's just how it was. So in middle school I was really hyper, really athletic, but also really nerdy. So I would go around, running outside, playing in the gym or whatever, sweating, and then go back to class. And right around middle school is when you start to worry about your self-image, how people perceive you. And one of the biggest things for me was, how I smelled when I came to class. So got introduced to Axe body spray by a friend in the locker room. So I started to drown my clothes in it, drown my skin in it. And I even started to spray it on notes that I wrote to girls in school. Don't tell my mom. But that's just one of the I think the most general ways everyone gets introduced into actually smelling good. But for me specifically, how I got into fragrances, at least higher end fragrances, more designer and niche things, was in high school. So I had this mentor who always smelled really good. He smelled nice. He looked nice. He wore suits. Had pressed pants, pressed shirts. Just a really well put together, clean cut kind of guy. And he used to tell me, he would say, "Hey man, look, when people first meet you, they notice two things right off the bat. Number one, how you look, and number two, how you smell." And at first it didn't make sense to me, but he said, a lot of folks don't even register or even understand that they're judging you by how you smell when you first meet them. But if you take that option away from them by smelling nice, you've already made an impression on them in their minds. And so that was one of the ways that he used his smell, used his fragrances and his colognes to get people on his side before they even knew anything about him. As soon as they walked up, they saw this well cut, clean and put together guy, and then they smelled him, and it was instantly positive reactions across the board to those people. So I decided that was something that I wanted people to do with me, was make an impression that I smelled nice and that I also looked good. And from that day forward, I've been in love with fragrances. So without further ado, we're going to go into the fragrances that really brought me, that really kickstarted my enthusiasm and brought me into the world of fragrances. So the first scent that really got me into the world of fragrances was this right here. Okay, Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce. So backstory behind it. So one of my first jobs in high school was working at Hollister. So I had a couple of jobs in high school, but Hollister was one of the ones that I remember the most. And I don't know if you guys know, but Abercrombie & Fitch and Hollister and like Aeropostale, all of them are owned by the same company. And what they do is, it's actually one of their tactics to draw people into the store, is they spray their fragrances, whether it be male or female, at the entrance of the store. And it wafts out, into the mall or into the hall or onto the plaza, wherever this store is. And it causes people generally to stop in their tracks because they smell something that smells really attractive. Then they look in and then they see the presentation of the store. There's a whole marketing scheme on using fragrances in the stores. So one of my tasks when I worked in Hollister was literally to go around, uncap a spray bottle, whether it be Fierce or one of the women's fragrances, and literally spray it around the store. So I would spray the fake plants, I would spray I would let it waft over the tables of all the folded shirts and pants and stuff like that, and I would literally go to the front and spray the door with the fragrance. So obviously this is one of my first encounters with a designer fragrance. And I love the smell of this for a couple reasons. Number one, because it smells kind of woody but also robust. And one of the things that they like to do in their marketing is to have a model plastered on the bottle. So I always associated this with that surfer dude, surfer body type, surfer mentality, which is exactly what Hollister was going for when they created all these fragrances. And Abercrombie & Fitch is no different, except generally, they like to sell the upscale, shirts, sweaters, so on and so forth. So this fragrance to me means like an upscale sweater, something really nice, something that fits close to your body, and that's what the smell, I think, is they were trying to get after. But yeah, so that's the first fragrance that really got me excited about smelling good in the world. The next fragrance is YSL La Nuit de l'Homme. So this is still and probably will always be one of my absolute favorites. I can't say enough about this fragrance. I actually got this fragrance when I was in college, and it's a funny story. I was in the store and looking to buy a new fragrance. Had just ran out of my bottle of Calvin Klein Infinity, which will be featured in another episode. And I was actually shopping with a couple friends, one of them who was female, one of them who I may or may not had a crush on. And you try some stuff out, and since she's there and I like her, I say, hey, does this thing smell good to you? And I'm showing her some, spraying them and seeing what she likes. And she didn't really, some of the fragrances generally smell good, but nothing really like caught her attention. So I picked this one up, and it was actually, I believe, the 3-ounce bottle. So I picked it up, and first of all, I nearly dropped the thing because the cap comes off really easily in this one. So I pulled it off, and then I sprayed it, and she wasn't facing me when I sprayed it. And I sprayed it right in front of my face because I didn't want to put it onto my skin just yet. And she literally like whipped around, turned around, and she's like, that's the one. And I needed no more convincing because she liked it, so that was it. The next day, I wore this fragrance to a party, like a little college party, and I got no less than, I'd say, probably 6 compliments from 6 completely different people, 2 male, 4 female, and I knew that this was the one for me. I knew that I always wanted to at least be able to say that I had this fragrance in my repertoire. So this is the one that I wear most commonly whenever I go out, sometimes even when I'm at work, even though I prefer to have different fragrances for different types of activities that I'm doing. If I'm wearing this at work, I'm getting compliments. If I'm wearing this out at a party, I'm getting compliments. It's such a robust smell. It smells like masculinity. It smells like confidence to me. And anytime I get a compliment while I'm wearing this fragrance, I always feel better. So definitely La Nuit de l'Homme is, I can't say enough good things about this fragrance. All right, guys, the next fragrance is Sauvage by Dior. So this one is a bit more recent due to the fact that Johnny Depp has been kind of the face for it, the model for it. This fragrance smells like straight up celebrity to me. So I'm a huge fan of Johnny Depp. I've watched pretty much every single movie that he's ever made. And so I generally like to, everyone has a celebrity that they follow, for a reason. One of the reasons why I picked up Dior is because Johnny Depp is actually the one who was advertising it. So for me, when I first grabbed it, I didn't actually initially like it. So that's really weird because generally for fragrances, for most people, I would say, is they gotta like it immediately when they smell it. So the top notes I didn't actually like as much. It was its middle and base notes that really drew me to this fragrance specifically. So this is one of the ones that when it dries out on you, so after you spray it, it's wet, it's got the sheen, but after it dries out, the smell kind of morphs a little bit. So when you first smell it, it smells barbershoppy. You're gonna hear that term a lot on this channel. It smells like a barbershop. After the fact, it smells like kind of like a Friday night out, a fancy dinner, or a medium to fancy dinner with a friend, or with a loved one or what have you. It just kind of cools off in a way that makes me think about like a Friday night, spending time with loved ones. And so that was really what drew me to that fragrance on the back end. But right now, I think I have maybe like 2 or 3 bottles of this. I won't be getting rid of them anytime soon. This is one of the fragrances that I'll wear sporadically, but it's still one of my most favorite ones, and it's one of the best decisions I've made personally in terms of buying fragrances. All right, everybody. So just to recap, we talked about me, Jay, and my introduction to fragrances. Really, how I came up in the world of fragrance enthusiasts, otherwise known as frag heads. So hey, we appreciate you guys coming on this journey with us. We're going to be dropping so much more content. We got great content for you guys. Reviews, comparisons. We got a lot of great stuff planned for you guys. Just make sure that you stay tuned. All right, so please like, share, subscribe, turn the bell on, all of that stuff. We need the support because we want to continue making good content for you guys. So we're going to introduce a new tagline, okay? So at the end of every video, we're going to tell you guys to live good and smell well, okay? Live good, smell well. That is your tagline for Nosey Neighbors. And if you use the hashtag, you put that on any of your statuses, on any of your social media platforms, we'll know that you've been listening to us and that you like rocking with us. So continue to rock with us. Live good, smell well. Peace.